The American sitcom Maude was broadcast on CBS between September of 1972 until April of 1978. It was another Norman Lear production and a spin-off of All in the Family. The character of Maude, played by Bea Arthur, was first introduced as Edith Bunker's cousin from Tuckahoe, New York. She was an outspoken liberal and a feminist, and she constantly butted heads with Archie over almost any subject that came up. As the series starts, Maude lives with her fourth husband, Walter, played by Bill Macy. Also in the household is her grown, divorced daughter, Carol, played by Adrienne Barbeau, and Carol's young son, Philip, played by Brian Morrison. During the show's 6-year run, there are 3 different housekeepers. The first one was Florida Evans, played by Esther Roll, and she argued with Maude on almost every subject that came up and was extremely popular with the fans, so much so that she got her own spin-off series called Good Times. Once she leaves Maude's employment, a second live-in housekeeper is acquired, played by Hermione Baddeley. They disliked each other terribly, and she was a constant thorn in Maude's side. Marlene Warfield played the third housekeeper, named Victoria Butterfield. But this character wasn't very popular with fans because she wasn't very confrontational with Maude. Maude's next-door neighbor is Dr. Arthur Harmon, played by Conrad Bain. He's a widower who is Maude's husband's best friend. He served in World War II, and he's a die-hard conservative Republican. As soon as he walks through the door, he and Maude's argument start immediately. Things are complicated in season 2 when he marries Maude's best friend from college, Vivian, played by Rue McClanahan. As in all of Lear's other series, this show would spend most of its time discussing social issues. Maude would, of course, be on the liberal side of any given issue, and she would try to convince her friends and family that she was right and had the correct view. The program dealt with a lot of topics that were hot during that time, especially women's liberation, the legalization of abortion, civil rights, racial and gender equality, and these are just a few that it touched on. Norman Lear once said that he based Maude's character on his wife, Frances. Maude first appears in 2 episodes of All in the Family as Edith Bunker's cousin, Cousin Maude. She represents everything that Archie Bunker is not. She's a liberal, a feminist, and upper class, whereas Archie was conservative, a sexist, and a working class guy. It's often lampooned that Maude was what's called a limousine liberal, and they didn't always show her beliefs and attitudes entirely in a complimentary light. The series was originally conceived as a comedy, but as time progressed, the scripts also incorporated much darker humor and drama that were laced with controversy. Looking back on the early 70s, the popular tranquilizers Miltown and Valium were handed out like candy by doctors, and Maude was one of the takers of them, originally taking Miltown, but occasionally taking Valium. Her and her husband, Walter, would always drink during the evening, and she herself had an abortion in 1972. At the age of 47, she was dismayed to find herself unexpectedly pregnant. The studio got an enormous amount of mail from this episode. They intentionally kept a lot of the real bad hate mail away from the primary actors, but there was a lot of people that showed their displeasure for this episode. In the early episodes of the series, when the character of Vivian made infrequent appearances, Rue McClanahan was aged with a gray wig and heavy makeup so that she would look closer to Bea Arthur's age. She was really 12 years younger than Bea. But when she became a regular on the show, McClanahan just balked at wearing the unflattering makeup, and her much improved appearance was explained in one episode by saying that her character underwent a facelift. Now, Bea Arthur stated one time that she would have preferred Marcia Rod play her daughter Carol on the show rather than Adrienne Barbeau. You see, Rod had played Carol in the All in the Family spin-off episode, and she did this with more of a mouth, which made the fight scenes more exciting. When Maude became its own series, they hired Adrienne Barbeau, who played this role in a much softer manner, one that Bea didn't like. It's been said by other actors on the show that Bea Arthur was a pretty eccentric woman, and that she didn't have much relationships with the other people on the show. Rue McClanahan worked with her for 13 years in total, when you combine the seasons on Maude and the Golden Girls. But there never was a closeness like you would expect after spending so much time with someone. During the 6-year run of the show, Bea Arthur is the only actress to have appeared in every episode of the series. And it's somewhat odd that this show has never done well in syndication. They've tried it, but it just doesn't have a following. But when you look at other shows done by Lear, like All in the Family and The Jeffersons, they've done great in syndication. Maude became a congresswoman during a 3-part finale at the end of season 6, and this was obviously intended to be explored the next season. But Bea Arthur was against the series being reconceptualized. The talk was that Maude and her husband would move to Washington, D.C., adopt new co-stars, and the original supporting cast just be written off. But they decided just to end the series because Bea Arthur just didn't want to go on. It was admitted that the show really ended because of Bea Arthur's divorce from her then-husband, Gene Saks. She had struggled the entire last season of the show, and she just wanted it to end. For the last 2 seasons, Adrienne Barbeau didn't appear in a majority of the episodes. It was stated that she had a busy schedule, and that was the reason. Most people felt that her disappearance from it was likely due to the fact that her character, when utilized, the scripts took frequent aim at her generously endowed physical anatomy, and this element of it was distinctly at odds with the show's otherwise staunch feminist edge. According to Rue McClanahan's autobiography, which is titled My First 5 Husbands and the Ones That Got Away, along with an assortment of other people, they talk about the time that Bill Macy dropped his trousers at the 1974 Emmy Awards, and he started shouting a raunchy joke out to the audience. I guess he was a practical joker, and he took it to an extreme that most people wouldn't do. He had pulled this prank from time to time. The National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences responded by telling Norman Lear and the producers of Maude that they would no longer be eligible for any Emmy Awards for the duration of the run of the show. Maude didn't get any Emmy Awards after that, except for the fact that Bea Arthur received one for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series in 1977. The series debuted on Tuesday, September 12, 1972, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and it would remain in this time slot for 2 years, until the spin-off series, Good Times, took over its time slot. They then moved the show to Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It stayed there for 1 year, and then it was moved to the 9:30 time slot before it got moved back again to the original 9 o'clock time. It stayed there until cancellation. The show really started to lose a lot of viewers and started faltering in the ratings. The April 22nd, 1978 show was the final one for the series. Take a look back at this groundbreaking show. If you love Norman Lear stuff, you'll always enjoy watching this classic. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.